Yo, this $4.2 trillion bank just released a bullish report and looks like they're doubling down on their massive Bitcoin backflip. This bank is now claiming that both gold and Bitcoin are becoming a more important part of investor portfolios. And today we're going to be diving into the three most interesting takeaways from this new report. But first, let's see what their stance has been on Bitcoin previously. Of course, who are we talking about? If you looked at the thumbnail, you probably have already guessed it. Of course, we are talking about Jamie Dimon and his bank, JP Morgan. But I'm not alone. I am in the hosting seat. Of course, our fearless leader, Nico, is here with us. And we have John and Wesley from Bitcoin Day Naples. So we'll be covering all that in the culture today. But let's dive into this. Of course, let's start from the beginning. Remember last year, we've been covering this all year. Jamie Dimon has historically been someone that has taken a very negative stance on Bitcoin, which is very clearly, an obvious FUD point. It's in his business. It's in his incentives not to embrace Bitcoin. And I have a headline from last year, and we covered this. Remember last year, we played you guys the clip, Jamie Dimon at the World Economic Forum saying, don't talk to me about Bitcoin. Jamie Dimon's been slamming Bitcoin as pet rock and he doesn't want anything to do with it. Quit asking me about Bitcoin. I'm never talking about Bitcoin again. And then towards the end of the year, we saw them shift their tune a little bit. Now, we got a new report coming out of JP Morgan. And this report is saying, and here's a headline from the blog, JP Morgan says, quote, the debasement trade is here to stay as Bitcoin and gold gain structural importance. Again, is this because of Trump announcing the strategic Bitcoin reserve, or is this just a continuation of the trend we've been seeing from JP Morgan, essentially saying that, man, people are dropping fiat currencies. Fiat currencies aren't looking as strong as we've been always thought of them as a store of value. We're seeing a slight tweak in the narrative here. So let's go into this article a little bit. A JP Morgan analyst said, quote, the debasement trade is far from a passing trend, with both gold and Bitcoin gaining structural importance in investor portfolios. Remember, they used to tell us Bitcoin is backed by hot air. There's no significance in Bitcoin. You don't want to hold any of this Bitcoin. What's very interesting, the start of 2025, now they're saying, maybe hard money is a structurally important aspect of investors' portfolio. The reason I want to talk about this today is because there's still so many people out there. I'm sure you're talking to your friends and family and they're always like, oh, why do I need Bitcoin? And now we're seeing literally the biggest institutional managers in the world, the most significant players in TradFi, start to change their tune and be like, yeah, maybe you should buy some Bitcoin, but they're not going out here and directly showing Bitcoin. They got to, of course, add gold in there to gain their sense of legitimacy here. Of course, been hearing a lot of talk about Bitcoin as digital gold. We obviously think it's much more than just digital gold. It is the perfect money. Anyways, quoting the analyst, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, his last name. It's kind of hard. So this analyst, Nicholas Panagurtsgalo, says, quote, the gold price appreciation over the past year has gone well beyond the moves implied by dollar and real bond yield shifts and likely reflects the reemergence of this debasement trade, this new report on Friday said. Meanwhile, record capital inflow into crypto markets, rather into Bitcoin in 2024, suggests that Bitcoin is also becoming a, quote, more important component of investors' portfolio. The debasement trade refers to a strategy where investors turn to assets like gold and Bitcoin to hedge against the devaluation of fiat currencies, often driven by factors such as inflation, rising government debt, and geopolitical instability. Remember, when there is uncertainty in the markets, people go to the hard money, the hard assets, the ones that aren't necessarily aligned with the traditional financial system. And of course, we think Bitcoin is superior than gold. The structural rise of gold in investors' portfolio is evident when examining the amount of gold held for investment purposes by central banks and private investors, according to the analyst. This includes physical gold, gold ETFs, and other investment vehicles, which now account for a significant percentage of the total assets held by non-bank investors globally. And you can see here a chart. So Bitcoin too, though, is becoming an increasingly important part of the investor portfolio. JP Morgan analysts called 2024 a pivotal year for the Bitcoin market, estimating that a record $78 billion flowed into the space. This includes a $27 billion net inflow into crypto funds or Bitcoin fund, adjusted down by $17 billion to reflect the shift from crypto wallets on a centralized exchange to most cost-effective and liquid spot Bitcoin ETFs. $14 billion invested by CME futures, $14 billion raised by crypto venture capital funds, the $22 billion in Bitcoin purchased by MicroStrategy, and $1 billion in purchases by Bitcoin miners. The analysts also took a very particular note into MicroStrategy's Bitcoin purchase alone, accounting for 28% of the total capital inflow into the Bitcoin market in 2024. Overall, with both gold and Bitcoin gaining structural importance, the debasement trade is here to stay, according to the analysts. And of course, they've been expressing bullishness since October. We covered that last year. And just, doubling down a little bit, let's look at what this guy, Nicholas, from JP Morgan, one of the lead analysts, is saying in regards to the adoption of Bitcoin. And he says, quote, "The adoption of Bitcoin by institutional investors has only begun." And Nico and I are both 2017. Nico got in 2016, I got in 2017. And we've been hearing the meme around Bitcoin for a long time. The institutional capital is coming. It's coming. It's finally here, guys. And you finally see that they are essentially taking off the red tape. They are now entering full steam. And so it's very interesting that first it was BlackRock in January of last year, and everyone knows what happened with the Bitcoin ETF. It's the best performing ETF in history. It's outperforming gold ETFs. It's literally taken the world by storm, though I'm a little biased. I'm a Bitcoiner, of course. And now, the start of 2025, we're seeing JP Morgan follow that to gain an advantage. As you can tell, there's still a little bit of trepidation. There's still a little bit of concern around Bitcoin, but you're seeing that many of the biggest TradFi investors in the world are starting to look at Bitcoin as a legitimate thing in investor portfolio. Now, doubling down on that, it's not that they're just saying this. The data is reflecting the same thing. People are moving into hard assets. We've been covering all of 2024 that even in the BRICS nations, on the global macro level, the BRICS nations are looking to move away from U.S. debt, and a lot of people are looking to stack hard assets. We've seen central banks starting to stack more gold. We're seeing individuals starting to go into Bitcoin. Now, it is interesting, obviously, gold bugs out there. They're like our big brother in this game. They've been in the hard money game for a long time. Though, as a Bitcoiner, I argue, or rather, I'm sure every single one of us on the panel would argue, that Bitcoin is superior to gold. And if you really want to protect yourself moving into the digital world, or the digital era that I would argue is going to be, the end of the 2020s and the 2030, you really want to be holding on to Bitcoin. Now, personally, what we say here on the show, or rather what I say here on the show all the time, I'm not here for the banks to hold Bitcoin, but the signal remains the same. When these people come out and say, yeah, maybe we should give a little bit of credit to Bitcoin, the point remains the same, that there is structural uncertainty in the world and you need to protect yourselves. And when you see the big suits come out, say some favorable things in Bitcoin, I think it's very important to continue to stress these conversations for your average person out there, because the average person is still looking to the Larry Finks and the Jamie Dimons of the world to get their investment signals. Now, I would argue Bitcoin is much more than just an investment. It's not a speculation. Yes, you want it, quote, part of your portfolio, or rather an important part of your portfolio. I would argue it is the perfect money. It is the best way to hedge against uncertainty. It's the best way to hedge against inflation. As we all know, 21 million hard cap. There is no way to debase your Bitcoin. And in the face of all this, quote, debasement trades going on, Bitcoin is going to continue to be the best performing thing in the market, period. And I think 2025 is going to continue to show that this is the case. And now the signal is spreading. More people are waking up to this idea. And I think 2025, like 2024 was the year where we kind of set the foundation of Bitcoin entering into the mainstream consciousness. And I think 2025 is going to be the year that we completely legitimize ourselves, or rather legitimize our standing in the global macro world landscape. And if you are on the fence here, now is the time to continue to get your capital into Bitcoins. Continue to build your position. Yes, the price is starting to rise a little bit. I think we're going to see a very bullish 2025. But when you hear these signals and you're not in Bitcoin, this should start your FOMO. This should be the stuff where you're like, oh, wait, what have I been missing? You should be reevaluating your position on Bitcoin. If I'm sure everyone in the chat's already a Bitcoiner, but this is the stuff you send to your family and your friends and be like, hey, look, this is what they're saying. Maybe you should get a little bit just in case it catches on. It's becoming very important in the global landscape. And then we don't necessarily even need to talk about the SBRs and all that conversation we're seeing. This is just simply people are looking to move away from US debt and look into hard assets. Of course, the first move for most people in the boomer categories in the older era is to move into gold. Us younger people are like, let's just skip that step and go straight into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the way. It is the superior money. And man, I think 2025 is going to be a crazy year. Anyways, I'm going to pass it over to John from Bitcoin Day Naples. Thanks for showing up today. Appreciate it. And what's your thoughts on Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan just slyly starting to, change their tune around Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, like, so.
Oh, Nico, I thought we were going to leave your voice go down, but you can jump in. You can jump in.
I apologize. No, go for it.
Yeah, let's go to John. We need Nico's voice to rest. Maybe we'll talk about it a little later. John, jump in.
Yeah. So, hi. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. So, like, you can see just by looking at me that I'm a little older than you guys. I'm not a boomer. I am a Gen Xer. So I take a more conservative look at things. But one of the most beautiful things about the Bitcoin game theory is that the number go up is what draws people in. And, we've it's been a grassroots thing for a long time. And you mentioned that you've been talking about these institutions coming in and eventually, the whole gradually, then suddenly thing. And I think it's just one of those things where they keep thinking it's going to go down and it's going to fail and it's going to go to zero, and they keep watching it, and year after year after year, it's the best performing asset in the world. And they just have to capitulate, and they just have to say, okay, well, maybe we should get us some of this, because maybe we can actually benefit from the number go up part of it without fully understanding the overall philosophy and intricacies of the Bitcoin network and what it might mean for the world. I think at some point they just all have to say, look, we got to get in on this. It's a FOMO kind of thing. If we don't get in on it, we're gonna lose out. It's kind of like I'm gonna mess it up. The one big investment house that opted out of doing a Bitcoin ETF. Can you guys remind me which one that was? And the CEO got fired a couple months later because it's like, oh, what are you doing? Why would you tell people not to invest in Bitcoin when all these other institutions are creating a Bitcoin ETF and we're not? So I'll just leave it at that. Jamie Dimon is just, or it's not really Jamie Dimon. JP Morgan is coming around to realize that they need to be a part of this, and they might as well get in and make some money and bring their clients along. And eventually, I think they will start to understand better what Bitcoin means for the world and the beauty of the Bitcoin network and the game theory and the fixed supply and all of that. And but in the meantime, I think the number go up is what's drawing them in, and they finally just have to say, this is it. That we got to get in.
Yeah. John, the CEO you're talking about, or the hedge fund, was Vanguard, first and foremost. And then second thing, I might push back a little bit on what you said about Jamie Dimon. I'm more convinced that anything that comes out of JP Morgan definitely gets the Jamie Dimon stamp of approval. And shouts out to my boy Nolan, Count BTC. He's starting his new show, I think this week. He said for a long time, he used to work in I forget what building it was, but it had a bunch of JP Morgan and Chase people there. And some of the people very close to Jamie Dimon were asking very interesting questions about Bitcoin a long time ago, around, I think he said like 2016 or something like that. So I think they know exactly what's going on. And again, anything coming out of JP Morgan, I think has Jamie Dimon's stamp of approval. He's like the God King over there. So I think he wouldn't let this stuff get out if he didn't kind of know where the train was headed. So I think other than that, I would agree 100% with you, John. Now I'm gonna pass it over to Wesley here, give Nico's throat a little chance to heal on us. But Wesley, what's your thoughts on hearing JP Morgan analysts come out and start to pivot their Bitcoin stance, get a little more bullish on Bitcoin? And maybe I would argue maybe being a little more truthful what's going on in the global macro landscape.
Well, I'd say it's just good business for them to say don't buy this. This is trash. FUD it, while they're stacking it in the background. We all talk about game theory. Like the United States is going to whip out a SBR. Are they going to announce that they're doing it, or are they just going to start doing it, and then once they've already got their bag, then they actually announce it? And so probably a lot of that is kind of the same here, but also could just be that they are just so entrenched in the system, and they are the pillars that make it up, that they may actually have just thought like, this is nothing. And if they did, then they missed out on some of the best gains ever, which good for us because we got those instead of them. Now they're going to come in and buy us up from 100 to 1 million, and they're still going to get that 10x. But just the fact that the plebs were able to get most of this coin, I think it's like I forget the exact number, but like a super majority of Bitcoin is held by individuals and not by institutions, which I think is definitely better for everyone. I know everyone likes to say Bitcoin is for enemies, but so are guns and ammo. And when the guy who says he wants to kill you starts stockpiling on it, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean like, oh, my ammo prices are going up. So I think we got opportunity to front run the establishment that we've been trying to free ourselves from, and that time is probably ending. There's a lot of comments going on about how people have stopped trying to evangelize, because you have this legitimization from the institutions on Bitcoin. But if you were waiting for BlackRock to tell you Bitcoin was a good investment, then you didn't get it, and you still don't. So I mean, I've also stopped evangelizing. We host our meetups. People come to us. We don't go out anymore, because if people need to still be having their doors knocked on at this late in the game, they're not probably going to be the most active players on your team.
Totally. Couldn't agree more. I've been saying for a minute in my personal life, like, I don't evangelize Bitcoin too much, but hey, if you want to hear me talk about Bitcoin, I got a show for it. I talk about it every single day. This is where you get the message. In my personal life, I'm like, yeah, I hold a little bit of coin. Other than that, I'm starting to maybe get a little pessimistic fields here and be like, no, you don't want Bitcoin. You don't want none of this Bitcoin thing. You shouldn't buy it. It's not for you. No, I'm just kind of trolling. Anyways, Nico, how you doing this morning? I don't know if you want to tell the people why you're in the co-host seat today, but good to have you here. Literally good to have you here on today's show.
Yeah, so like yesterday was pretty crazy. I was having like my throat was hurting over the weekend, and yesterday got to a point where it like literally my tonsil was the size of a golf ball, and I was having trouble breathing. And I had to go to the ER, and then they gave me antibiotics, and like now I feel way better, but it was pretty scary. Like I was telling Opti yesterday, I was like, dude, I think I can't breathe. But everything's fine now. Everything's fine. Disaster avoided. Thank God for modern medicine. But in regards to what we're talking about, it's quite interesting, because what we've been saying for quite a long time now, Jamie Dimon, Larry Fink, don't pay attention to what they do. Don't pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to what they do. Now, Larry Fink is like pure team Bitcoin now. He's like preaching Satoshi's gospel. He's like fully on board. But Jamie Dimon, again, it's like, don't pay attention to what he's saying. Pay attention to what he's doing. And clearly, they have a different outlook on it. Now, the thing that I will say is, I think it's an inevitability that Bitcoin surpasses the market cap of gold. And I was actually asking ChatGPT in the background, when Bitcoin reaches the market cap of gold, that would put one Bitcoin at roughly between $800,000 and $850,000 per coin. That's insanity. And it's a superior asset in every which way. Like, gold isn't absolutely scarce. Gold is limited by its physical characteristics. So it's very difficult to transport gold. You can't send gold instantaneously to someone across the planet. And also, you don't know how much gold is in the ground. Like, there's, articles written all the time. I've seen these where there are these asteroids that have so much gold in them. Now it's not economical to space mine, but who's to say with Elon, what he's doing with SpaceX, who's to say that in 10 years, that's not going to be the case. Right. So, yeah, I mean, it's obvious where this thing is going. Bitcoin is the superior asset. It's the only thing on planet Earth that has absolute scarcity. And I will say this, it's not a coincidence that it's the best performing asset of the last 15 years. And whether it's an institution or a nation state, like, as soon as they adopt Bitcoin, like, look at what happens. Right? Like, it's absolutely insane. Like Michael Saylor's Bitcoin strategy, MicroStrategy, they're best performing company of, the best performing one of the best performing stocks of 2024. I suspect that trajectory will continue into 2025. And Nayib Bukele, I don't think it's a coincidence that the most popular president in the Americas, which is Nayib Bukele, with a 94% approval rating, is the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender. Like, good things happen when you adopt Bitcoin, as your unit of account. Like, life gets progressively cheaper. So I think it's inevitable that's going to surpass gold. It's inevitable that all these institutions are going to wake up to this reality. Now, it's great because us, everyday people, were able to front run these people, and we got like a really big head start. But I think that door is closing. I think 2024 was the beginning of this institutional adoption of Bitcoin. That's only going to accelerate. So if you're selling Bitcoin right now, you're selling it to nation states and you're selling it to institutions. You're not selling it to other plebs. And fundamentally, the revolution is individuals taking Bitcoin into self-custody. So just be wary. Don't sell your Bitcoin. Leave it in cold storage and save it for a rainy day. Anyways, guys, before we start the show, I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsors. So our lead sponsor is Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin on-chain or via the Lightning Network in Canada, the USA. What makes Bitcoin Well different is that it's a completely non-custodial platform. So what does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. It doesn't even give you the opportunity to leave the funds on the exchange, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state, because after all, self-custody is the revolution. Also, for higher net worth individuals, if you're looking to try to buy $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more, check out the Bitcoin Well Infinite product that was just recently released. It's a white glove service tailored for transactions of $50,000 worth of Bitcoin or more. So again, if you're tired of dealing with that finicky Coinbase UI, you're tired of dealing with these like email support that they never get back to you. It takes forever. It takes like a week. We've all been there. And you actually want a real human being of which you can call or text every time you want to buy Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin, or you have questions about Bitcoin. Check out Bitcoin Well Infinite. To get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/OTC. Also, you got to check out, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called Bitcoin Well points. And you could redeem those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest, which we'll do live for you guys right now. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code has won the 210 sats. Every time you toss a coin into the Wishing Well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. And if you use the promo code SimplyBTC, again, SimplyBTC, to sign up to bitcoinwell.com today, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have lots to talk about. We have so much content to get through, so stay tuned. And also, shout out to the 670 of you guys watching live on YouTube. Help us break 200 likes within the first 30 minutes of the show. We're at 150 likes, so smash that like button. Also, shout out to the Rumble audience, which has been popping. And of course, shout out to the X audience as well. We love you guys. And of course, for the people that like to listen to us on podcasts, shout out to everybody listening to us on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a good review, and love you guys. All right, everybody, let's get to numbers. Lots to talk about.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store.
All right, guys, and mainly guys and some gals, scan the QR code down there and make sure you get yourself a Stampseed kit. Use the promo code SIMPLY and get 15% off. All right, guys, let's go. First and foremost, we're on Clark Moody's dashboard and we're over 100K. Let's go. The Bitcoin price is $101,740 per Bitcoin, which means the sats per dollar, aka how much Bitcoin you can buy for a single dollar, aka how much the dollar's worth in Bitcoin, is finally back under 1,000 sats per dollar. We're currently at 983. The current Bitcoin block height is 878,113. And the market cap, guys, we have reclaimed the $2 trillion market cap. We're at $2.02 trillion in fiat terms, and the Bitcoin versus gold market cap is inching towards that 20%. We're at 10.93%. And the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued, I repeat, that will ever be issued, is currently at 94.31%, with roughly 19.8 million Bitcoin in circulation. Now, there's a good conversation in the chat about, maybe is this the time to be more militant about Bitcoin? Well, I actually have a pretty good clip here, and shouts out to Jack Mahlers, because this is the energy we need right now, and I'm not even going to yap more about it. Let's just hear Jack Mahlers talk about what we're doing here in the Bitcoin space.
Because I'll tell you what, we're going to take our reserve currency and we're going to smash buy. We're going to take our technology, we're going to build. We're going to take our entrepreneurs, we're going to support them. We're going to take our miners and we're going to hash. That's what we're going to do in the United States of America. And we're going to show you that democracy and freedom is the best way towards human flourishing and to support human civilization. Let's go. Open competition, fair competition. Let's go. And if you think your approach to human civilization and your approach to government is better, then let's go out and see. But we got the best entrepreneurs, the best miners, the best stackers, the best hodlers, the best mines. And no offense, I know I got a lot of people out there that are listening to this that aren't American. But what can I say? Born and raised, land of the free, home of the brave. That's how I feel. I'm not afraid of competition. We embrace it. So the way to de-risk this and the way to promote progress and growth is to go out and act on your principles. Don't be afraid. Listen, everyone's afraid of risk, but there's risk everywhere. You know what's riskier than buying Bitcoin? Not buying Bitcoin. What's riskier than buying Bitcoin is not buying Bitcoin, right? Getting in an Uber is risky. Getting on an airplane is risky. Going to the grocery store has some risk involved in it. You want to know how risky life is? None of us are making it out alive. Right? Land of the free, home of the brave isn't about being afraid of risk. It's about principles. It's about fighting for what we believe in.
Let's go. I'm glad I played this clip today. I needed that energy right now, straight into my veins, because we're absolutely killing it, man. It's incredible to just see Bitcoin winning. And actually, we were talking before the show with John and Wesley before Nico popped in that we're seeing a lot of talk about strategic Bitcoin reserves right now. It's been, the newest trend in the world. I would argue, every nation has to be talking about this, but all of the big nations are at least kind of signaling that they are going to do something with it. And I think that might be, it's a double-edged sword. We're seeing that if the strategic Bitcoin reserves do not materialize, that might be bad for the Bitcoin price. But I think even if the US just continuously talks about it and foreshadows that it's going to come, I think that's going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin in general. Whether nothing actually happens and they just kind of keep like pushing it down the road, I think that is some huge signaling around the world. And I really like, Jack Mallers' approach here of, dude, land of the free, home of the brave, like stand on principles. And this is how we continue to usher Bitcoin into the masses. And I've been arguing this for a long time, that the best way to spread Bitcoin or kind of get your normies interested in Bitcoin is not necessarily having these Bitcoin conversations and, going on these Charlie Day rants about Bitcoin where you're connecting all these dots. It's literally just living a good life and showing them in the way that you live that as a Bitcoiner, you are living a better life. And I think that is how you really show that Bitcoin is the most successful way to live, that having Bitcoin on your own personal balance sheet, or rather using Bitcoin as the best money in the world, as the Bitcoin standard that you're living, you're showing more people around you that this is the best way to live, especially if you talk to normies right now. There's a lot of nihilism out there. There's a lot of concern about the future. No one's even really thinking about the future. They're just kind of in the moment. Like, I remember over the Christmas break, I was having conversations with friends, and they're all saying the same thing. They think the future is going to be worse. And I'm sitting here like, no, the future is going to be great. What are you talking about? We have Bitcoin right now. People are embracing Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to take over the world. And so I love this rant of Jack Mallers of how America leading the charge on Bitcoin is actually a good thing. And we're standing on principles. We're standing on business here at Simply Bitcoin today, especially when you follow the initial news story that we talked about. Of course, JP Morgan is kind of backsliding on their Bitcoin position, and just following up with that of like, this is what you need to be doing to live a good life, is to continue to stack Bitcoin. I think those two combined stories are just like very hard signal for the normies out there. If they're watching, I think this is just Bitcoiners here. But if you're not fully a Bitcoiner yet, I hope that hit you in the feels. I hope you're getting a little bit of FOMO and you get a little gut kick of, yeah, I need to go deeper into Bitcoin. Okay, so giving Nico a little break, I'm going to pass it over to Wesley first and foremost. Wesley, what's your thoughts on that Jack Mallers clip?
Yeah, well, one, I realized I just bought that hat, so hopefully I don't look like a poser. But I think that's exactly what like Trump means when he says we're gonna make Bitcoin in America. Is that, look, all right, this thing's happening, it's not going away, and so we need to do it the best. And we kind of already are. I mean, we have most of the Bitcoin is held in the United States. Really, the big component the U.S. is lacking is the manufacture of the miners themselves. Like almost all of the machines are coming from China. I know Intel was trying to do something with Square or Block, but I think they paper-handed whenever we had that little dump a couple years ago. So I agree. I mean, as an American, I want America to be the best place to do Bitcoin. That's one of my goals here at Bitcoin Bay, is to make the Tampa area the best place to do it in the U.S. But I agree. If everyone's like, oh, I can't afford it, and I'm like, you can't afford not to have it. It's people are like, it's too expensive, it's too volatile, and I'm just like, it's been 8 years, you know, of me telling you guys to buy this stuff, and you're gonna be just as upset at 250K that you didn't buy it now than you are that you didn't buy it at 50. Unfortunately, some people, you know, not everyone fits on the arc, I guess, is kind of, you know, where we're at. But, you know, I agree with Jack. You know, I think we need to create the environment here in the US to, you know, because capital goes where it's treated best. And if, you know, the Elizabeth Warrens of the world get their way, people are going to leave. I know a lot of my guys are nomads and are looking for jurisdictional arbitrage. If this place isn't, if America is not the best place in the world to be a Bitcoiner, the Bitcoiners are going to leave. And I think, you know, the current administration, the incoming administration recognizes that. And I'll be very interested to see, you know, what comes out of the first 100 days.
Love it. Totally agree. And yeah, I think it's very important we double down on that Jack Mallers quote. Like, it's risky not to own Bitcoin right now. It's riskier not holding Bitcoin than this perceived idea that it's too risky to own Bitcoin, especially when you think about many Americans. They really are wrapped up in the dollar, and, you know, the $1 equals $1 meme, when in reality they're losing their purchasing power. And when I know it's complicated to explain to your friends and family because you only get like 2 or 3 minutes to explain it, but just kind of hitting them with, like, it's riskier not owning Bitcoin. Like, next topic. Like, let's keep it moving. This is all we really need to be saying. Anyways, John, I see you smirking. What's your thoughts on that Jack Mallers clip?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of things to unpack there. He's got some strong patriotism, and you know, this country was built by a few men who got tired of being oppressed by their government and felt like they needed to move on and revolt against that government. And you know, a big part of that revolution was about money, and they, you know, and getting away from a central bank. So, you know, with this new money, we ought to be the leaders in the United States ought to be the leader in developing all the tools and things that will be built on the Bitcoin network and in advancing that monetary network. The other thing is, you know, he said, he brought up the inevitability of death. And so, you know, I try to, you know, live my life as much as possible with that in mind, that time is our most scarce resource, because we don't know at any point in time we could lose the ability to be on this earth and live this life. So, you know, take the risk. You know, what do you got to lose? Take the risk, get into the network, buy some Bitcoin. You know, be part of the revolution. And if you just want to be somebody that you know, buys and holds and sits back and just kind of watches, that's fine too. But you know, I think it's just really the point that he made about you know, the riskiest thing is to not buy Bitcoin. It just makes a lot of sense.
Totally. All life is risk. Don't let life pass you by. Smash some Bitcoin right now. All right, guys, before we move into the next segment, there is over 750 of you guys watching on YouTube. Smash the like button. There's over 2,500 on Twitter. Smash the like button. And shouts out to our boys over at Rumble. They've been yelling at us, Nico, that we're not giving them enough love. We love you guys.
I love
you don't need to
crew.
smash the like button over there because there's no algos, but smash the like button anyways. All right, guys, let's get into the news and let's cover some more stuff on Simply Bitcoin.
I want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind.
New phone.
This is Opti. Sorry, I apologize, guys. My voice. This is Opti, and he is not holding a phone. He is holding a Passport by Foundation devices. It's the perfect gift to give to someone that perhaps is a little bit intimidated by self-custody. Passport makes it easy to take self-custody without sacrificing convenience. If you use promo code SIMPLY, you won't get Opti, but you will get a discount on the Passport by Foundation devices.
That last line always gets me. Always. All right, guys. Anyways. I know you guys have been trolling us lately that we should rename the channel to Simply Saylor. But hey, dude, Saylor is, I guess I would say, maybe employee of the year for Bitcoin. And he just keeps doubling down on that, guys. And this is the big news story. As you can see, we've been covering the last couple of weeks that Saylor and MicroStrategy is being specifically referenced in a lot of news reports coming out. So he's a huge player in the game to lead the Bitcoin charge, and he's just continuing to put on a masterclass for all of corporate America and every CEO that they need to get some Bitcoin. So there's two news stories here. First one is, of course, Saylor and MicroStrategy just continues to buy more Bitcoin. And there's also kind of like a meme going around where he drops that chart. Let me see if I can show you. So every time Saylor has been dropping this chart here, right here, the Saylor tracker chart on Twitter, it's forecasting that he's announcing another Bitcoin buy, and he just keeps doing it. So on this first news story, it's old news. I think we're all kind of getting tired of just seeing Saylor scoop up so much Bitcoin. We're like, man, leave some for us, bro. Like, what's going on here? Anyways, MicroStrategy acquired another 1,070 Bitcoin for roughly 101 million at a rough price of 94,000 per Bitcoin, and has achieved a BTC yield of 48,000 in Q4 of 2024 and 74.3 in FY 20. What's that for year 2024? Now they hold 447,470 Bitcoin acquired at roughly 27.97 billion and roughly 62.5K per coin. But the next story, which I think is a more interesting story that we're seeing, is on Friday, he announced that MicroStrategy is targeting up to a $200 billion capital raise through a public offering of perpetual preferred stock in the first quarter of 2025. Now, this is a new move by Saylor, and this is a new development that we're seeing MicroStrategy and Saylor do. It's not the same kind of stock or convertible debt that we've seen Saylor do in the past, and now it's offering a new product for a totally new avenue of the traditional market. So I'm going to break down, I'm going to read this just press release first, and then I'm going to have Dylan Leclerc kind of break down what this actually means. So today, or rather on Friday, MicroStrategy, in furtherance of its previously announced 21-21 plan, a capital plan to raise $21 billion of equity and $21 billion of fixed income instruments, including debt, convertible notes, and preferred stock over the next 3 years, announces it's targeting a capital raise of up to $2 billion through one or more public underwritten offerings of perpetual preferred stock, which will be senior to our Class A common stock. The perpetual preferred stock may include features such as 1, convertibility to our Class A common stock, 2, payment of cash dividends, and 3, provisions allowing for redemptions of shares, among other features. The offering is expected to be registered via a registration statement on Form S3 to be filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, of course. The number, let's see, this, if it's expected to occur, will happen the first quarter of 2025. So now you got the basics here. But our boy Dylan LeClaire did a mega thread on Twitter, rather a mega post on Twitter. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you guys can go check him out on Twitter if you want to read the whole thing. But there is some breakdowns in here and what the significance of this means. So what is a perpetual preferred stock and what does it mean, or rather what might it mean for MicroStrategy's MSTR, or as I got trolled on over Twitter, Master. I call it Master, but it's MSTR. Anyways, TLDR. A perpetual preferred stock is a hybrid financial instrument that combines features of debt and equity, offering fixed dividend payments with no maturity date. It sits between debt and common stock on a company's capital structure, meaning preferred shareholders are paid dividends before common shareholders and no dividends for common shareholders in this case, but after debt holders. In liquidation, they also have priority over common stockholders. While preferred shareholders usually lack voting rights, they benefit from a more stable income stream and greater security in dividend payments. This structure allows companies to raise capital without diluting voting control, while offering investors a balance of income and relative safety. The most important thing to understand is that as the preferred stock is perpetual, there is no lump sum principal repayment. There will be an annual dividend, and depending on the rate it is issued at, it's equivalent to pulling forward 10 to 20 years of buying power. At a 5% rate, you are essentially pulling forward 20 years of cash. Absolutely insane. So more specifically, if we narrow it down, the parameters that match where MSTR likely targets, there are currently 306 securities that check the following boxes: exchange listed, perpetual, U.S. listed issuer, 378 million average value per issue, 115.69 billion in aggregate across 306 issues, and average initial dividend rate of 6.283. So who is the target buyers for this preferred stock? Insurance companies, pension funds, mutual funds, banks. Notably, preferred stock can be held as a tier 1 or tier 2 capital on bank balance sheets under Basel III banking regulations. Now, adding a little more context to this, and again, I'm not going to read the whole post. You guys can go check it out on Twitter. But preferred stocks are low volatility, low performance, income generating securities. Shown below, and there's a chart. This will be the first time we are seeing what falls under the MSTR dividend category that MicroStrategy teased on its Q3 earnings presentation. However, there is an extremely important advantage that MSTR has compared to nearly all other preferred issuers: volatility, not to mention subsequent common stock liquidity, performance, and BTC exposure. There is what MSTR can provide to fixed income investors, and it is an indefinite BTC-backed call option. So going further, there was one point here that was really good, but this is so long. So let me see. Essentially, what we're seeing. All right, here we go. The Treasury team has spoken at length about selling volatility only through convert issues thus far and recycling the proceeds back into BTC. This selling of volatility is how they take the preferred market by storm. The most interesting thing to watch for will be the provisions that the conversion contains in the preferred offering. In the past, when MSTR has issued convertible bonds, the bonds has contained all sorts of provisions for a convertible component. The point of these provisions is to essentially cap the upside and the downside of the convertible option. So now with this new preferred stock, they neutralize the value of the call so as to target something like approximately 50% delta. So for every $1 billion of bonds that are issued, the convert bond arbitrage desk will short sell something like 500 million of equity to lock in immediate gains. But the preferred stock could be a bit different. Given the indefinite nature of the option, read perpetual preferred, an uncapped call would hold extreme value value, even if the call was strike laughably far out of the money, given the immense volatility and time value of the option. Stepping back, the preferred market is just a relative larger scale than converts. For scale, the total size of the convert market in the United States for listed securities is 1,360 bonds worth $302 billion compared to $572 billion in total for all preferred stocks. So what does this all mean? In essence, Bitcoin has infiltrated the fixed income market, and the dreaded uncertainty, read volatility, that every smug TradFi allocator spent the past 15 years making fun of us is the very reason that these MSTR preferreds will likely be the top performing preferred security in the market before long, just like the MSTR converts and the common stocks have been. So MSTR bears, to wrap up the thread, has no idea what is about to hit them. And then, of course, he rounds it out. And don't get me started on the potential BTC yield here. So it looks like Saylor is just continuing to put on a masterclass out here, hitting a whole new market. And Nico, man, we said it. We said it last year. We should have probably just been buying MSTR the whole year at this point. Dude, just killing it.
I mean, bro, I would be like significantly wealthier if I just sold all my Bitcoin and put it into MSTR, and I would have more Bitcoin too. But yeah, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020. But look, MicroStrategy continues to kill it. Obviously Saylor is a genius, and he's really like nailed down this formula, and it's working to his advantage tremendously. And like the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the work. I mean, it's there, everyone could see it, and he's just going to continue to buy as much Bitcoin as humanly possible. Why would he stop? I mean, it's working. One of the things that I was thinking about the other day, and I was like having a conversation with my wife about this, like when it comes to like fiat debt, right? Like essentially it's a cheat code, because your fiat debt, like, okay, if it's a credit card, let's say roughly it's about, 15%, 12%, right? Roughly around that area. If you think Bitcoin is going to compound from here conservatively at 30 to 40% from here for the next 10 years, you're incentivized to use the traditional debt-based system to your advantage. And this is essentially the hack that Michael Saylor has found within the traditional financial system. A lot of people call it the infinite money glitch. Obviously, as everyday individuals, we don't have access to the rates that Michael Saylor does, but still, the rates that we do have access to, Bitcoin's still going to outcompete them, right? So I'm not telling you to take a loan out or mortgage your house. I'm not saying any of that. No, this is not financial advice. But that's what Saylor has done, is that he's taken advantage of the traditional debt-based system to buy something that has absolute scarcity. Now, what I think is going to happen after this is when the nation state FOMO truly starts and the first countries start to use their fiat money printer to buy something that has absolute scarcity, all games are off. Like, I'm telling you, if Trump's going to be sworn to office in 14 days, if he pulls off this Bitcoin strategic reserve, I feel very confident in saying we're going to see $500,000 Bitcoin this year, which is roughly less than a 5x from now. So it's not that crazy to even say that. It's just the number's so big that you can't even wrap your head around that type of stuff. But yeah, so shout out to Saylor for really moving this forward. He paid the prices of tuition just like the rest of us. I remember when he first got into Bitcoin, I saw him front stage at Pacific Bitcoin in Los Angeles. And his average buy per Bitcoin was roughly $30K per Bitcoin. And at the time, Bitcoin was sitting at $16,000 per coin. And I remember he was just stoic looking at the crowd, but he had to pay the price of tuition just like the rest of us. And if you're part of class of 2024 and 2025, you're most likely going to have to pay the price of tuition, right? It's what forges you as a Bitcoiner. The only difference with Saylor or with Nayib Bukele paying their prices of tuition or with nation states is that they have so much capital that it makes a lot more news, but it's still the same thing. So to kind of weave it back in to summarize all my points, take it, if, again, not financial advice, but something that I do personally, and this is my opinion, take advantage of the debt-based system to accumulate more Bitcoin. And remember that even if your debt remains the same in dollar terms, but the purchasing power of those dollars goes down, and in Bitcoin terms, that dollar-based debt is going down forever, Laura, right? So you're actually incentivized to just pay the minimum payment, right? Like you're incentivized to do this, right? Which
wait, double down on this isn't financial advice.
This is not financial advice. But like, normally, like if you hear Dave Ramsey and stuff, he's like, Nico, don't pay off your debt, pay off your this. As a Bitcoiner, I'm looking at that, I'm like, and I've done this before, but like I'm looking at that, I'm like, why would I do that? Like I would probably end up with less Bitcoin. And when I'm in a position like this year or 4 years from now, so because I just keep rolling it over because I'm not incentivized to pay it off, because again, the Bitcoin, that the dollar of what I owe stays roughly the same or a little bit more. But in Bitcoin terms, the dollar amount that I owe is significantly less. So instead of owing, for example, 0.1 Bitcoin, I'm just throwing examples out here, 0.1 Bitcoin or 0.05 Bitcoin, if you wait 4 years, you'll end up owing 0.005 Bitcoin instead of 0.1 Bitcoin. It's that type of math that you have to take it, you have to like wrap your head around. But essentially the reason I'm bringing this up is Saylor is taking advantage of the debt-based system. And the debt-based system wasn't ready for an asset that has absolute scarcity. And that is the phenomenon that's happening. And we're starting to see it on the nation state level with Nayib Bukele, according to Jack Mallers, is using the IMF funds to stack more Bitcoin. And I think we're going to start to see that on a state level here in the United States. Shout out Dennis Porter doing incredible work there with the Associate Action Fund. And I think we might possibly see it with the Trump administration on a federal level as well, which is extremely exciting. The world was not ready for Bitcoin and Bitcoin. Nobody can stop an idea whose time has come. Anyways, I'm going to pass it on. I'm going to stop with my ramble. Definitely broke my voice a little bit more. John, what are your thoughts on all this, brother?
Okay, well, I'm again a much more conservative thinker, and one of the first things you said, Nico, is you wish you would have sold your Bitcoin and bought MicroStrategy. Don't do that.
Yeah, we're trolling. We're trolling.
Don't do that, because when you buy MicroStrategy, you don't own any Bitcoin. You own MicroStrategy stock. So there was a great explanation. I'm going to do a shout out to my friends at the Cypherpunk podcast. It's a podcast with a guy named Mark Hindley, who's a banker that is very astute at Bitcoin and understands it very well. And they did a little segment on explaining what MicroStrategy is doing and Michael Saylor's doing. Anyway, look that up, Cypherpunked. But there's risk in what he's doing, just like you're saying. This is definitely nothing I say is professional financial advice. But I agree that there's some benefit to taking advantage of the fiat system, and what he's doing is totally taking advantage of the fiat system and the debt-based system and capitalizing on that. And he's created a great way for institutions and other people like who have just 401ks and don't have any other money to invest to get into Bitcoin. And that's awesome. And I love what he's doing, and he's doing more and more and more of it. But it's not your Bitcoin. So you're taking a risk when you buy MicroStrategy. You're taking a risk that he has to sell Bitcoin at some point in order to pay back the debt. And so hopefully that never happens, and it shouldn't happen based on what we know about Bitcoin and the fact that it's scarce and the demand is going to continue to go up. But just remember, MicroStrategy is a stock, and it's a part of a company, and it is not Bitcoin. Those are my 2 cents on that subject.
Love it, John. Love it. Before I pass it over to Wesley, though, guys, we are almost at 300 likes on YouTube. Smash the like button. Help us push this in the algo. Let's hopefully more people can get the signal today. Anyways, Wesley, what's your thoughts on Michael Saylor just schooling everyone out here? You know, what's your thinking around MicroStrategy or the MSTR stock? What's your initial thinking when you hear this type of news story come out? I think you're muted, bro.
Sorry, normally the button wasn't working. Yeah, no, there's a couple. There's a few thoughts. On the debt-based, coin stacking side. That's what I've been doing the past 3 years now as well. I realized that okay, this is how rich people do. They borrow against their assets. They pay the debt off with inflated assets and debased dollars. That's why we're at 0% interest rates. That's how this whole thing works. And then the Fed raised the rate as fast as they've ever been in in history. So I learned the lesson right as the door closed. So I mean, I already said earlier, it's just good business. I mean, why wouldn't you do it if you can get non-margin callable debt and buy money and buy actual money with it? I mean, you'd be silly not to. I'm not the biggest fan of of MicroStrategy and the ethos put forth by Saylor. I mean, they're pretty much a government contract mill next door to the CIA headquarters, and the never sell your Bitcoin meme has made my job of creating a Bitcoin circular economy very difficult. Obviously, you're not supposed to trade your Bitcoin and take profits and try and do that, which is what HODL originally, was. But whenever I have events and nobody will buy a $14 pizza with Bitcoin after I onboard the food truck, it kind of pisses me off because that $14 isn't going to kill you. Your grandchildren aren't going to curse your name for spending 30,000 sats, at a Bitcoin party. And I am not a fan of the digital gold narrative. I signed up for peer-to-peer electronic cash. My thing is if you're not spending your Bitcoins because you still have too many dollars. But I mean, I've been all in for the past couple of years, and I've now started, dabbling in the, borrowing against the coin to pay off the credit card, using other cards. The games that are available if you have good credit it's crazy. So, I mean, his company is going to be one of the richest companies in the world within the next 10 years, probably. So kudos to him. But yeah, it's definitely a complex topic that he's developed.
Absolutely. And I love how, basically at least two of us here have just admitted to taking advantage of the debt-based system to accumulate more Bitcoin. I see Lightning Goats giving me crap for it. Dude, I mean, and I do want to emphasize this, guys, it does come with risk, right? Because you have to deal with Bitcoin's volatility. That's the key aspect here, right? So you have to manage your risk. If you are a degen and you start to essentially buy Bitcoin on margin, which is essentially what you're doing, you could get margin called and you could get wrecked, right? Or you could take out a loan that you cannot afford to pay. And I have seen people get wrecked. They've lost a lot of their Bitcoin. So, again, you have to manage your risk. What is your risk? What is your personal situation? And what are you open for? Because you don't have to do any of this. This is what Saylor's doing. Obviously there's at least 2 degens on the live stream right now. But you have to understand that if you just stick to the Odell model and the Vikingo model, which I've kind of joined together, which is stay humble, stack sats, stay solvent, that doesn't fail ever. It's just sometimes degens are I want more Bitcoin, so I'm willing to take more risk, right? So again, what is your risk appetite? What are you willing to do? That's a question that I have for you guys. Clearly, Michael Saylor, the terms for Saylor's loans are so insane.
It's literally like $0 in
like
10 years, like
essentially
0% over 10 years. It's crazy.
The bet is this: if he's betting that Bitcoin's going to be higher than it is today in 5 years, if it is, he made a fortune. Now, the question that I have for you guys is, do you think Bitcoin is going to be at a lower price in 5 years than it is today? I don't think so. That's the bet that Saylor made. Now, all us like normies, we don't have access to those types of terms, right? Like we get like much higher terms, so which come with much higher risk. But the same logic applies. Do you think Bitcoin is going to be higher in 5 years than it is today? You know, it's as simple as that. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. We have a lot of people watching today, almost 4,000 live viewers across all platforms and 700 live viewers on YouTube alone. Guys, if you're new to the channel, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to smash that like button. We broke through.
Oh, wait, Nico. If you're new to the channel, make sure you smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, the subscribe button, of course. And welcome to Simply Bitcoin, the best place to watch Bitcoin entertainment, and we'll be your guide through the separation of money and state. And just smash the like button. We broke through 300 likes within the first hour of the show. Help us reach this is a little ballsy, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Help us reach 400 likes within the next 20 minutes or so. So if you guys are enjoying the show, smash that like button. Really, really helps with the algos. Of course, on Rumble, smash the like button. Subscribe to us on Rumble. Our Rumble has been growing like crazy. Appreciate all the love over there. And of course, we are posting to Nostr, specifically using the Primal platform. All right, everybody, we'll be right back. We're going to hit the culture.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's been battle tested through every possible market. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to redefine the future of sustainable energy. Also, gotta casually drop this in here, HIVE consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. Learn more by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website, hivedigitaltech.com.
All right, everybody. I do want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin's partner, BitBlockBoom. Guys, this is going to be one of the best Bitcoin conferences of the year. You're definitely not going to miss it. You definitely don't want to miss it. It's April 3rd through the 6th in Dallas, Texas. What makes BitBlockBoom different is that the event isn't so big where you get lost in the sauce. It's just the right size so you can network with your fellow Bitcoiners or potentially, try to get a job in the industry because some of your favorite Bitcoin companies will be sponsoring and will be at the event. Simply Bitcoin will also be live streaming the entire event. So you guys definitely don't want to miss it because there's going to be amazing panels and conversations. If you want to meet the entire Simply Bitcoin crew, Nico, Opti, Rustin, Dante, Jacob, Sophie, the Zoomer X crew, and all of us, a lot of us will be there. You definitely don't want to miss it. In fact, this is the first Bitcoin conference where me and Opti met each other in person. It was a BitBlockBoom. I don't know if Simply Bitcoin would exist if that wasn't the case. So guys, hope to see you guys in Dallas, Texas, April 3rd through the 6th, 2025. You can use promo code BB21 to get $100 off your tickets. Check out our sponsor, BitBlockBoom 2025. All right, I do want to open the conversation. We got the boys from Bitcoin Day here joining us.
Here, Nico, let me take this, and then I'll let your voice, your throat heal for a little bit, and then you can chime in. So let's just start from the beginning. There's going to be so many events this year. I think, at the very start of 2025, I think people should start picking and choosing which events are near them, where they want to go. So I will pass it to John. Let's just start off with, first and foremost, what is Bitcoin Day in Naples? What is the goal you're trying to accomplish down there?
All right. Well, before I tell you that, I just want to say that I called Wesley like 10 minutes before this show because my co-host Jack was supposed to join us and he had a last minute thing come up. And so Wesley was a real trooper and jumped on the call. And Wesley is from Tampa, as he said a couple of times, with Bitcoin Bay and the Bitcoin Bay Foundation. And so we're partnering with Wesley and Bitcoin Bay to do Bitcoin Day Tampa in June. But Bitcoin Day in general, our goal is to bring together plebs. Our audience is really Bitcoiners, and we like to bring everybody together. And we have the fortunate ability to we're fortunate to have a lot of really well-known and influencers in our immediate area. So the South Florida region is full of just awesome Bitcoiners, and they are so generous giving up their time to spend a day. And so, like, yeah, you see those guys, Larry Lepard. Oh, wow, Nico. Bitcoin Ben is a great supporter of ours. Matty I, Stanley Condon. All these guys, most of these folks are either from South Florida or have some sort of a connection to South Florida. Actually, 40% of our speakers are either from Naples or have a direct connection to Naples. So it's really cool that we have such a great pool of talent. And so we want to bring those talented influencers into a small environment, a small intimate setting where we can create an environment where everyone can connect, so that Bitcoiners can come, and instead of seeing these guys only on the big stage and not being able to mingle with them, you can actually sit at a table with them for the day and get to know them a little bit better, have a conversation with them over lunch or out in the hallway. So bringing together Bitcoiners with influencers is our goal, and creating long-lasting connections.
Love it, John. I'm gonna do a little curveball. We were laughing about this earlier in the show, and then I'll let Nico talk about his experience at Naples. But can you guys turn South Florida into a Bitcoin area with the huge influx of shitcoinery from Miami?
Boy.
Yeah, so that's why we love Alligator Alley, because it keeps Miami over there. So I will fight against the bright line with everything I have. Miami is going to remain the crypto capital. We're on the Gulf Coast, and we keep it Bitcoin over here. And John's done a great job with Bitcoin Day, for the past couple of years, making that happen.
Let's go. Okay, John, I'm gonna pass you the same question. Sorry, guys, Nico had to run. We got a meeting right now, so we won't get Nico's experience, but we can get a second hand from John and Wesley. John, same question. Can you turn South Florida into a Bitcoin location, or will you guys get overshadowed by Miami shitcoinery?
Well, I mean, all shitcoins go to zero against Bitcoin, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think that's a goal that we have to strive for. I think as long as we keep promoting Bitcoin and that those Miami shitcoiners will just kind of slowly convert over to Bitcoiners, and they'll be part of our group. A lot of them already are part of our group. All the shitcoiners that I know are actually Bitcoiners first. And so there's quite a few of them out there. There must be a lot of them out there that aren't, and maybe I just know the right ones. But all the people that I know that are involved in other cryptocurrencies are Bitcoiners first, and so they understand that Bitcoin is the base layer, and that it's the internet of money, and they understand that their other coins are not going to be that those other coins have other use cases. And so yeah, I don't think we'll have any trouble. I don't think we need to worry about that. That's just noise.
Love it. Okay. Before I pivot over to Wesley about Bitcoin Day in Tampa, John, for the audio listeners out there, let's just plug the day, and we can kind of pivot the conversation, maybe talk a little circular economy with Wesley. So just plug it for the audience here on the audio recording. What days are they? What maybe some side events, ticket prices, etc. And then we'll get Wesley a little platform to talk about Tampa and what they're doing down there.
Yeah, so Bitcoin Day Naples is January 18th. That's coming up in 12 days. Ticket prices increase in about 7 days, so you want to get your tickets quickly. And we have some great sponsors, some great speakers: Larry Lepard, Bob Burnett, Charlie Shrem, and lots of others. I've lost my train of thought. Okay, Bitcoin Day Naples, yes, January 18th. Oh, side events. Thank you. Side events. It's a Saturday only event. Lots of people come in Friday, and there's kind of maybe we actually host a small event for the speakers and sponsors on Friday night. And then Saturday all day. We'll start early in the morning and go until about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And then we'll have a designated after party location. So it'll be a nice trendy restaurant that's walking distance from the conference location. And so we'll send everybody over to that restaurant. And last year we had about 50 people or 60 people show up at the after party. We had a great time. This year I hope we'll get more. We plan to have about 150 plus at the event all day on Saturday. So Naples, Bitcoin Day Naples, January 18th. Tickets are on sale now, bitcoinday.io. And that's it.
Let's go. Love it, John. Appreciate it. All right. Passing it over to you, Wesley. You know, we have Bitcoin Day in Tampa, but maybe you want to, for the new listeners out there, talk about Bitcoin Bay in general.
Yeah, so Bitcoin Bay is the first Bitcoin-only meetup to incorporate as a 501c3. So we are a registered charity in the state of Florida, tax exempt as well. So everything you do with us is considered a donation. We help coordinate a Bitcoin circular economy in the Tampa Bay area. So that's Tampa, St. Pete, we get down to Sarasota. We've got chapters in all 3 cities. We meet every week in person, typically on Thursdays. And our next one is going to be how to live on Bitcoin this Thursday. It's been a community organized event project the whole time. So it's really been it's been a volunteer run organization. We've been doing this for about 3 years now. It's just been a great chapter, in our life here, and it's great to see the economy, growing here. We've got businesses that take Bitcoin from HVAC, plumbing, electrical, jeweler, nutritionist, personal trainer, estate planner. So our goal is, my goal personally, selfishly, is I want to be able to live on Bitcoin. I'm sick of having to sell my Bitcoin to pay for things. I just want to be able to transact with peer-to-peer electronic cash. I don't want to have to jump all through these hoops and play credit games. The only reason I'm doing those games is because it protects my coin. But if I could just spend the Bitcoin, it would be so much easier because I wouldn't have to worry about all of this crap. So that's the goal, is to create a Bitcoin circular economy in the Tampa Bay area. We host a bunch of events, and we partnered with Bitcoin Day and John to bring Bitcoin Day Tampa on June 14th, and we're bundling that with our annual charity gala, the Sound Money Soiree. So that'll be the official after party for the Bitcoin Day Tampa event. So we're gonna be doing those both on the same day, and we had our first one this year or last year now in February, and that was a great success. It was a lot of fun. And then for those who are coming down for Naples, you can stay a week and come up to Tampa for our Gasparilla float. So we are building the world's first Bitcoin Pirate Parade float for the Tampa Bay Gasparilla Parade on the 25th. So we have a float for that, and we're gonna have a tent right along the route, so people can have a front row view to see it. Really excited for that. We're another world first as far as we know. So if people want to learn more about that, you can find that on our website at bitcoinbay.foundation.
Let's go.
Were
Awesome.
you Wesley? Were you at Miami Bitcoin 2023 Miami?
No.
The conference, yeah.
Okay, so I know you guys. You guys stole the award from the
Nico's
BitBlockBoom.
got beef.
Yeah, that's
BitBlockBoom
right.
team. That was whack. You guys used a technicality to steal that award from us. Not
That's
cool.
right.
If they knew you
We
were coming
donated
on the-
half of it to the other grassroots meetups.
Oh, if I knew you were coming on the show, I don't think I would have let you come on the show, to be honest with you. So that wasn't cool, dude. We beat you guys fair and square.
Nico's got beef on the show. That's
We
hilarious.
beat you guys fair and square. That was not cool. So anyhow, yes, Bitcoin Day, great conference. Had a great time in Naples. Love John and Jack. I think they make an incredible team. Just putting together, all these high profile people, and they just make a great a great team. And I'm super glad to see that they're succeeding and they're expanding to different places in South Florida. So that's awesome. The Bitcoin Day in Miami was incredible. I'm sure the one in Tampa is going to be great too, even though Miami is way better than Tampa. And Naples is 305 till I die. And Naples is great as well. And I'll be at the Naples one. So I won't be at the Tampa one, but I hope to see you guys in Naples. And it's coming up. So you want to get your tickets quickly. So it's January. What day is it, Jack?
18th. It's a week away.
January 18th. So it's going to be a great time. I have to drive across Alligator Alley, which is always fun in the Tesla, super fast, quick, zoom. But anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed today's episode of Simply Bitcoin Live for January 6th, 2024, almost 4,000 live viewers, which is absolutely gnarly. Make sure to, we hit 400 likes, Opti. That's awesome. So make sure to like the episode, share the episode.
Wait, Nico. Before we wrap up, let's give John and Wesley one last TLDR. We usually do this. What's the last message you want to leave with the audience? I'll start with let's start with Wesley. What's the last message you want to leave? And I'll pass it over to John as well, and then we'll wrap up today's show.
Go to your local meetup and spend your Bitcoin. Buy and replace.
Love it. Okay.
You can buy Bitcoin.
Love it. All right, John, you as well. What's the final message you want to leave with the audience?
I want to say that I want to offer everyone listening and everyone in your audience a $50 discount. So $50 off your Bitcoin Day Naples tickets. Use promo code SIMPLY.
Let's
when
go.
you go to checkout, all right? At Bitcoin
Free, sneaking in a free affiliate.
Yeah.
Let's go. What a
Sneaking
day.
in as free affiliate, John. I see you. I see you. All right, everybody.
Nico, wrap it up.
Yeah, love you guys. Today was January 6th, 2024. This was Simply Bitcoin Live. Your host for today is Optimus Fields. He's going to be stepping into the host seat more often moving forward. Of course, I'm your co-host for today, Nico, and our guests, John and Wesley. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.